Hey, it's Thomas Cox here with Daniel Keys of EOS Nation. And this is a sort of semi-formal, I asked him to give me a walkthrough of the referendum contract as it currently exists on the 5th of November, 2018. He said, sure. I said, let's record it. Maybe it'll be worth sharing. So we're about to find out. Take it away, Daniel.
All right. Yeah, thanks for having me, Thomas. Happy to chat. We've made lots of progress in the last little while on the referendum. I know that you've been keeping tabs on us in the thing, so you've seen the iterations we've gone through. I think the tally is something like on the 5th or 6th kind of refactor at this point.
I think we've really learned about testing thoroughly before rolling out, and it's good to see. Yeah. But I'm really happy the state we're at now. We've got a tally up and running that seems to be stable now. And tally is the thing that counts the votes as the referendum is running.
That's right. Maybe I'll take a step back in case there are people watching this video who are less familiar with how this whole thing works than you or I. The referendum system is kind of comprised of 3 parts. We have the forum smart contract, which the fine gentlemen from EOS Canada have been doing a lot of work on getting ready. That was based on a prototype originally created by Block 1. They took it and changed and enhanced it to suit the needs of being both an on-chain forum as well as a place where you can do things like propose proposals and vote on those proposals and actually on-chain collect responses from token holders. We yes, no, or it's actually technically 0, 1, 2, 3. It's accepting an integer. Right. So the forum, so that's the forum. The forum accepts proposals and collects the choices from token holders on with a decision for that. Then we have a tally, which is an off-chain tool, which is basically just counting how much stake. It's looking at what's coming through on this forum and seeing we have so-and-so has voted yes. Now it actually has to count how much stake so-and-so has and whether that stake is put towards a yes or a no vote. Right. And then it gets more complicated when we start including things like proxies. That was one of the things that was causing some of the struggles for us. So there is no, this is a brand new, in the system contract. For example, there's all these things that we're trying to count that there's actually, it's not being tracked anywhere on the main system contract.
So what folks may not realize is that if you were to, try to query the blockchain and say, so Fred voted yesterday in favor of this, what should his vote count for right now? You would have to figure out, you have to go look up his vote and then see what his currently staked tokens are, because his current vote is his current stake times which he voted in. And staking can change at any time, and they don't stake through your contract. So your contract isn't being informed every time someone changes stake.
Right.
So it's a really interesting challenge.
And the system is, for example, also set up to allow for voting for block producers. And it's set up to work very well with proxies and block producer voting. So if I have a proxy set and then I vote for a block producer, the system contract will automatically remove my proxy for me, right, and count the stake of the vote towards that block producer that I self-selected. Right. If I have a proxy selected and I vote for a referendum proposal, they're not connected the way that the block producer vote is. So my proxy is I'm still proxying my stake towards that proxy, but I've also voted for this proposal. So now how do we count that? Do we count the proxies votes or do we count my votes? So we think we've come to a pretty elegant solution, which is pretty simple. And that is basically, we are counting proxies votes, but if we notice that somebody has, let's say I have staked towards a proxy that has also voted towards a proposal, and then I vote for that same proposal, it's just gonna, as soon as I vote for that proposal, it it doesn't count my stake towards that proxy anymore. It only counts my vote. So basically, my individual vote trumps my proxy's vote.
Just like it would on block producers. So you're
That's right.
basically having to sniff the ongoing set of changes across the entire system to look for staking and unstaking, proxying and unproxying, voting and unvoting, if unvoting is a thing.
That's right.
And keep track of all that in a reporting system.
That's right.
That's very complex. I mean, I'm sure it could be worse, but it's an interesting and complex challenge, and you guys have you believe you cracked it.
I think so, yeah. And Dennis would be able to, he's our CTO at EOS Nation, who's been the one responsible for building the tally, would be able to definitely go into more detail in terms of exactly how it's counting and where he's pulling from.
I just want to see a demo right now.
Yeah, sure.
We'll do a deep dive at another time.
Cool. I think a kind of a good place to start would be, so you're interested in seeing kind of me going through a voting for something, or
whatever. If you can show setting up a referendum and voting for it, that'd be cool.
Sure. So currently, the only way that we can submit a proposal is through the command line.
If you're not set up to do it, let's just use one of the existing test ones.
Sure, let's do that. And
because most folks are really interested in voting much more than they are. Folks who want to create their own referenda can take the extra credit class on how to make referenda.
That's right. I think it makes sense maybe to separate it into two. There's like kind of from the proposer's perspective and from the voter's perspective. Exactly. Today we can focus on from the voter's perspective, and then we can maybe regroup to talk more about from the proposer perspective.
Right.
So one thing I'll quickly, before we go into it, I'll actually show you what our tally. Are you seeing my screen right now?
I'm seeing a black box with a tall, skinny white bar down the middle of it.
That's not right. So what I'm looking at is a JSON for the tally. So this is something that anybody can query. I can share. We have a GitHub repo for our tally that kind of links to this. Basically, if you go to this link followed by latest, this is going to give you the latest snapshot of our tally and the results based on what's happening at that current block. So currently we're taking snapshots every 1,200 blocks, so it's about every 10 minutes.
Nice.
And so that means when you vote, there's about a 10-minute delay for you to see the results in the user interface. Our plan is to get that into a state where it's real time, but that's not necessary for our MVP into our beta. We're happy with the current 10-minute delay, but the plan is to get that updated more quickly. So what you get when you look at that tally/latest.json is basically just every single proposal that we have that has ever happened. The name of the proposal, the content of it, and then here is where we start to get the stats, which is what we really care about from the perspective of the tally. And there's a few different things we're tracking. We have votes, accounts, proxies, staked, and then this stuff here relates to the threshold. Are we over the 15%? Are we over 10% more yes than no's? Has it been sustained? How many days has that sustained? So the way that this works, votes is actually counting the number of accounts that have voted. Accounts is counting the number of EOS staked towards proposal by an individual account. Proxies is the number of EOS staked towards proposal by a proxy, minus, if and there's an account holder who has also voted for this, it would subtract from there. It would only be reflected under accounts.
As whole numbers, there's not a decimal there. Is that because those are whole tokens staked, or because you're not displaying the 4 decimals?
Thanks for bringing that up. So this is actually 4 decimal points. So this is actually, for example, 10.2 EOS.
But because it's consistent everywhere, the voting doesn't change the vote. It just changed the display. That's
right. From what I'm told from the folks who are more technically inclined than I, apparently this is standard across EOS. The EOS amounts are always displayed like this with kind of 4 decimal points removed. And then the staked is basically just the sum of these two. Accounts plus proxies equals staked. So this is really the amount we care about. This is what would be kind of the end result. And obviously here we got the zeros, the ones. So a 0 represents a no vote typically, a 1 represents a yes vote. Technically, although currently all of our UIs only display a yes and a no for our token holders to vote, technically if you were to vote through the command line, you could vote a 3, you could vote a 4, and you're muted, Thomas.
Yeah, more complex ballots might have, vote for any of these 3 candidates, and 0 is I'm voting for none of them. And then you could do a binary mapping.
Exactly.
What the, yeses and nos across all 3, and you'd have 8 permutations, which is 2 to the 3rd. So that would be a very clever way to handle that. Of course, you have to make sure that it's displayed properly for people to cast the ballot and record it correctly. But that's an implementation detail separate from this code, which is the ballot formation and casting the vote and tracking it.
Cool. And the cool thing is, so this we seem to all be feeling very confident about how this is performing. So myself, as well as Josh Kaufman from EOS Canada, have been going through a whole bunch of different test cases. I can even show you, this is kind of what our tracker looks like of the test cases we've been running through.
Right. So
I've been using
the vote from yes to no, no to yes, make sure that updates correctly, turning the proxy on and off, changing your level of stakedness.
Exactly. Voting with a proxy that was set as a proxy but has unregistered as a proxy.
Right.
Doing all kinds of weird corner cases too, changing from yes to no, doing all, So
it's not just counting ones and zeros, folks.
Once you really get into it, it can suddenly get kind of complicated. So today I completed everything and revalidated them, and Josh as well. And so the last report is everything is working just as we were expecting. So it's looking good from a tally perspective. We are, however, going to want the community to jump in, and maybe they're going to come up with corner cases we couldn't think of.
Very important. Yeah, we got to try it out.
It's definitely important to put it through its code paces before it's released for prime time.
Yeah.
And that's the idea for the beta. So we're hopefully going to announce to the community this week that, hey, we're ready for beta. Come and join us in helping us test it some more. So EOSvotes.io is a portal that we put together. This has been with the help of EOS Tribe. Steve Floyd has done a lot of work on coming up with the UI.
Right.
The guys from General EOS, Nathan, has done a lot of help in kind of helping plug it in on the back end. So this takes the results of the forum that EOS Canada put together. We can read the proposals that are still active and vote on them.
Cool.
So this is pulling from the chain. It's pulling the proposal that was submitted through the EOS Canada forum. This is the title of that proposal. We can see that Josh Kaufman was the person who proposed it. And this is a description that he submitted. And we can see these are results currently pulling from the tally. We can see that 32% of the tokens who have been staked towards this proposal are currently voting yes, while 68% are currently voting no.
Clearly the wrong result.
It is, yeah.
It's heretical. So get out there and vote, people.
We can, let's see if we can make an impact to that right now. So I just hit we've got scatter integration here.
Right.
So I can, check my Testy account here. And
since you're only sharing your screen, not your whole monitor, we don't see the pop-up that a normal person would see from scatter. So that's not in there.
Good, yeah. So if I was sharing my entire screen right now, I'm just sharing my browser window, you would have seen, scatter pop up. For example, right now, if I hit yes here, what you don't see, what I'm currently seeing is I have a pop-up here saying,
there's a little
scatter,
shadow,
confirm your vote.
Shadow show up, but we don't see the actual scatter. And so it's a confirmation. Folks who use scatter know exactly what that looks like.
Yeah. And so now I voted for yes. Again, there is about a 10-minute delay, so you won't immediately. But what you would see here is this should go, if I've already voted for this before, I've just changed my vote, this wouldn't change. But if I'm voting for the first time, this should go up by 1. So when we say votes here, really we mean the accounts that have voted.
Right.
This is the amount of EOS that my account has available to vote. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple, straightforward. We have a lot of items, like issues that we've called out. We want to make improvements to the UI to give more information to people. So like, for example, there's a lot of info that we have available in our tally data here that's not yet visible on our UI that we want to make a lot more accessible to the average person. You know, reading results from a JSON file is obviously not ideal. So what we want to eventually be able to have is, for example, be able to see not just the percentage, but the number of EOS that has been voted towards each option. We want to see what percentage of the total, you know, are we at that 15% threshold yet, or how close to it are we? How many days have we been over it? All that sort of thing. That's all going to be coming, but that won't be preventing us from going into a beta.
Cool.
So I think that pretty much covers anything that I missed that you have questions about, Thomas.
That's really cool. I love it. And I would like to pause a moment and see if I can cast a vote on my side. So let's pause your screen share.
Sounds good.
Okay, this is Thomas Cox now. And here's my screen. Again, I'm just sharing this one browser window. You see I'm in as Thomas B. Cox 23, which is my super secret EOS name that now people who are watching know about. And I'm going to do the referendum. I'll click once on referendum.
And that is currently not. So these buttons up here are, yeah, those are informational.
I just scroll down.
Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
We're hoping that by tomorrow, that's current. When you click that referendum button, it's going to just take you to a static page with instructions.
So I'm going to click a vote. Still got 26, still 50. I'm going to click on yes. I get a little scatter pop up. I hit accept. And then does it say voted successfully?
All right.
Yes, I debugged it correctly. Now it's still going to show this 32 to 68 for a while until these propagate, which we're not going to sit here for 10 minutes and stare at it, but we'll come back to it. And that is, now what's missing, by the way, if I come back here and click vote, it says you voted yes, change. If I change it to no and hit accept, voted no, voted successfully. Change, vote back to yes. Again, prompted because I didn't whitelist it, because I don't whitelist things. I want to be prompted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so since I already voted in the past, I'm assuming that I voted no in the past and that my change to yes will change these numbers. But if my past vote was a yes and the current vote is a yes, nothing's going to change here.
That's right.
Which is correct. Now, the one thing I can't do is remove my vote, which technically you should be able to do, because strategically, we want folks to be able to choose to participate or not. And when they choose to participate, then choose which way they vote. And to show up is to increase the number of participating tokens, which is one of the 2 thresholds for a successful vote. We need a 15% turnout of tokens. And so if you're helping towards that 15%, you think, you know, I don't like this referendum at all. I don't think it should even get its 15%. You can pull your tokens out and unvote. And that feature is not yet shown here in the user interface, but it does need to be a feature here at some point.
Yeah, I agree completely. So currently you are able to withdraw your vote through the command line through something like EOC or Kleos. It's not available in the UI, but we do intend to make it available in the UI before we have our full rollout. So likely, we're again hopefully going to be going into beta this week. It may not be available in time for our beta, but it definitely will be available before we say we're ready to actually have a real referendum.
Brilliant. I love it. And one of the things we can do during beta is do some actually meaningful tests. Well, I would like to do a poll of token holders in a non-binding sort of plebiscite where we say, hey, would you like to see people work on a constitution with no base layer arbitration, or with default base layer arbitration, or advisory base layer arbitration, which is like the three options, and just see what they say, because right now we're working on all three, and that's a ton of work. And if there's a clear majority of token holders preferring one over another, I'd love to know about it and reduce the workload. And there's probably other things people would like to ask the token holders about. And I would love to see, maybe it's appropriate during beta. We should probably talk about it some more before we decide, but I'm floating that idea here publicly for the first time as a possible thing.
That sounds like a great candidate to me. There's so many possibilities. I'm really excited to see what the community comes up with. I think, this is going to unlock so much potential.
I'm worried about voter overload, frankly. Here's the 10,000 things we want to know about you, voter. And after the first three, it's just going to, I'm not interested anymore. And then we'll never get them back to the ballot box, and then they won't vote for constitutions. So I'm really, really concerned that while we can't, I don't think it's probably fair or legitimate to prevent people from placing things on the ballot right now. We don't have a mechanism to justify that. I do think that there's probably going to be a best practices for your ballot, a standard published by the ballot craft group. Like, here's what makes a ballot like coherent and just technically good. And then we could encourage the wallet and voting portal people to either only display by default the ballots that fit the standard, that people bothered to make them look good, or maybe there's other criteria like endorsed by certain people, or let the user decide what they want to see. Because if there's 10,000 things out there, you don't want to see that. You probably want to see the ones that are interesting to you. And so we've got a whole little filtering conversation to have around how to make the ballot human friendly, so that you're not facing 10,000 choices, 9,900 of which are, when moon, Lambo, yes or no, and misspelled junk. And I love being
right.
We don't need that, but we can't stop it. So what we can do is filter it. And that gives us free and open access and user control at the same time.
Exactly.
So I think it's probably a good compromise.
And the approach we took is at the base layer, there's no filtering. It's wide open, but it's flexible enough that any UI can decide to filter at how they choose. They can filter for a proposer account. They can filter for a proposal name. So I won't be surprised if over time, maybe for example, the Black Ballot Craft group builds a name for itself and ends up becoming almost a body that helps people craft proposals, and they submit proposals through their account, and they become almost this trusted account that is by default displaying in all UIs. I think over time we'll probably see probably different UIs will take different approaches, and then probably eventually we'll, as a community, come to some standards.
I think it makes a ton of sense. I'm really looking forward to seeing that come to fruition.
Yeah.
Super. Thanks for the demo. I'm looking forward to the next version, but we won't be talking about that right now. We'll just say thank you, Daniel Keys. Thank you, EOS Nation. Thank you, EOS Canada. Thank you, GenerEOS. Thank you, everybody else. The long list of people who, in classic EOS fashion, are collaborating across block producer, language, time zone barriers to make great things happen for the community. I'm so honored to be a part of it. So impressed with the work you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.
Take care.
The development of this referendum system has been a collaborative effort between EOS Tribe, EOS Canada, GrayMass, GenerEOS, and EOS Nation. For more videos, please subscribe to this channel.